The umbrella was for the sun, not for the rain. The umbrella is thousands of years old, and for almost all of that time it had nothing to do with rain. It was shade. In Egypt, in Assyria, in India, a servant held it over somebody important, and it meant exactly what it looked like. This person is not standing in the sun like the rest of you. China made the change. Oiled paper on bamboo ribs sheds water, and there are Chinese rain umbrellas well over 1,000 years old. In Europe it stayed a sunshade, and a woman's one. A gentleman caught in rain took a carriage. That was the point of having money. The man usually credited with breaking this in London is Jonas Hanway, who from about 1750 walked out under one whenever it rained for 30 years and was shouted at for it. The accounts of that come later and are probably tidied up. What is certain is the reason for the hostility. Coachmen made their living from rain. A man walking under an umbrella was a fare that did not happen, and they made their feelings known from the box. It took another century to become ordinary, and one more invention. The ribs were whalebone and cane, and they were heavy. A steel rib, folded into a U shape so it flexes and springs back, came from Sheffield in 1852. That is the umbrella you own. The wristwatch was a woman's bracelet until a war. For 400 years, a watch was something a man kept in a pocket, on a chain, and took out. Small watches worn on the wrist existed, but they were made as jewelry for women, set in a bracelet with stones around the face. The first one on record was made in 1810 for the Queen of Naples. A man wearing one was a joke, and the joke had a phrase attached to it. It was said that a man would sooner wear a skirt than a wristwatch. That was the state of things in 1900. What changed it was work that needed both hands and exact timing at the same moment. Officers in colonial campaigns had already begun strapping small watches to their wrists with leather cups, because a pocket watch cannot be consulted while riding, signaling, or holding anything. By the First War, it had stopped being optional. Artillery fired to the minute in coordination with men moving forward, and a soldier could not stop to dig in a pocket. Watch companies sold trench watches by the 100,000, with metal grills over the glass and luminous dials. The men came home wearing them, and the joke was over. Within 10 years, wristwatches outsold pocket watches many times over. The pocket watch never came back. The wrist is simply a better place for it. The pen that only worked in the air. A fountain pen leaks when the air pressure drops. Every pilot in the 1930s knew it, and so did anybody who had carried one up a mountain. A Hungarian newspaper editor named Laszlo Biro was watching newspaper ink dry on the press, almost instantly, and wondered why pens could not use it. The answer is that thick ink will not run down a nib. So with his brother, a chemist, he put a tiny ball in the tip. The ball rolls, picks up ink from above, and lays it down. Gravity does the work, and a sealed tube does not care what the air outside it is doing. The first serious customer was an Air Force. The pens were licensed to be made for aircrew, who could write at altitude without a shower of ink over the charts. Then it went wrong. In 1945, a businessman in New York rushed a copy to market at $12.50, about a week's wages, and sold 10,000 on the first day. They blotted, they clogged, and they came back by the sackful. Within 3 years, the ballpoint had a reputation as a fraud, and sales collapsed. It was saved by a Frenchman named Marcel Biche, who bought the patent, spent years on the precision of the ball, and sold the pen for the price of a newspaper.